Hey everybody, this is my mini study analysis table, and I've included these 3 articles to help answer the question and topic, which is, can epigenetics be the link to understand that systematic oppression and individual abuse are negatively affecting newborns? And the reason personally why I chose this topic is because I truly think the dilemma that we're facing today as far as racism in the birth room and issues with abuse are deeply rooted in the past. And I think that generationally this trauma is being passed from mother to child. And I think clinically, if we were to look at this issue more and explore more of these ideas, that systems that we have in place would be forced to change, and that they would be forced to evaluate how we have structured systems and how they are affecting individual people. And I think the development of future generations to come depends on how we view this issue. And I personally really think that maternal health involving systematic oppression and individual abuse, that we need change in this area. So that is why I'm looking at this topic. And so the 3 articles that I've included, they are looking, 2 of the articles, the second and the third one, are mostly just looking and addressing the issue that abuse does in fact negatively affect the fetus. And then the first article that I've included is also looking at the changes in placental gene expression with distress. So the second, I want to just look at the second and third one first. And so the second one is titled "The Timing of Prenatal Exposure to Maternal Cortisol and Psychosocial Stress is Associated with Human-Infant Cognitive Development." And the third one is "Intimate Partner Violence During Pregnancy and Adverse Birth Outcomes, a Case Control Study." And so the design of the second one, they took maternal saliva samples, and they also evaluated the psychological state of the mother in different times during pregnancy. And then they also evaluated the infant mental and psychomotor development of the child at different points during the first year. And the result of this was that maternal cortisol does in fact have an influence in the programming of the fetus and the development of the fetus. They also found that the exposure of cortisol and the timing of that does have an impact as well. So exposure to cortisol early on in pregnancy is detrimental to the fetus, while cortisol later in pregnancy actually is needed for the development of organs such as the fetus's lungs. A weakness of this study is that it's included a really low risk sample of women with healthy full-term pregnancies, and so it's not really evaluating women that might be experiencing more severe stresses. And one of the strengths is that this study is looking at the different developments of the infant and how stresses do in fact affect a newborn. So the third study that I have included is the study design it's a case control study that looked at 4 different zonal hospitals in a particular region, and they were mostly, the purpose of the study was evaluating and examining the association between intimate partner violence during pregnancy and whether or not did it have adverse birth outcomes. And in fact, the results are that women who are exposed to intimate partner violence or any kind of violence during pregnancy do in fact have their babies have low birth weight, and they're more likely to go into preterm birth. And a weakness of this article is that due to the sensitive nature of the topic, sometimes this can lead to over or under reporting of the true extent of the abuse. And a strength is that this really just kind of solidifies the fact that violence during pregnancy is a big deal. And as care providers, we need to be able to recognize signs of violence, and so it helps address those issues. And so my first article that I've included, to go back to that one, is called Distress During Pregnancy, Epigenetic Regulation of Placenta, Glucocorticoid-Related Genes, and Fetal Neurobehavior. And the study design of this took women and they were evaluated with a mood questionnaire, and then they also took daily salivary cortisol collections. And then at the end of pregnancy, they took placenta samples. And what's interesting about this study is that the results, this is the first study to link the effects of pregnant women's distress on the fetus and epigenetic changes in placental genes, which I find just very, very interesting. One of the weaknesses is that they did not identify which biological signal enables the maternal distress to affect the placental DNA methylation, but one of the strengths is that this is a big study in that the placenta, finding that the placenta serves not only as evidence to maternal stresses, but also acts as like a record keeper of in utero exposure. And I've included, these studies to support the argument that violence of any kind or abuse during pregnancy is not only detrimental to the health outcomes of the baby, but it also is playing a role in epigenetic changes in placental genes. So this is my mini study analysis, and thank you for listening.